Hello and welcome to episode 44 of the PTC Cast. Today, Chris and I talk about resting and taking breaks for yourself to be sure that you're being as optimal as you can and you're properly recovering and you're actually taking care of yourself and not just dragging yourself through your fitness, through your business, through your relationships, and you're actually feeling refreshed and ready to go.
Yep.
So we also answer a question at the end. I hope you enjoyed the episode. It's brought to you by ProgressThroughChange.com, where you can get your 4 Easy Habits for Fat Loss guide. It will take you 3.29 seconds to sign up online.
Scientifically proven.
To get, to get a 10-page PDF that you could read in probably less than 5 minutes that will give you the tools to lose fat and, most importantly, keep it off for the rest of your life. That's my stick, man. We got no Biggest Loser BS going on here. The goal is to lose fat and keep it off and stay that way, man. So that's how it's set up. Check it out, ProgressThroughChange.com. Enjoy the show. Dude, you just recently took a little vacation.
Oh, yes, and it was amazing.
Where'd you go?
We went to Canyon City, Colorado.
Canyon City, Colorado. And one of the coolest things as your friend watching you go on a vacation is you are someone who does not vacation.
Yeah. No.
So, I mean, really, man, I kind of wanted to know how you were feeling after taking some time for yourself, because I have found personally, man, work, gym, life, whatever it is, like I always feel reinvigorated and ready to go after a break.
Yeah. So afterwards, I felt a weird sense of like relief and weight off my shoulders.
Sure.
Like it was really weird because I wasn't used to feeling that way. You know, going into the vacation, you know, I thought that the way that I was feeling then was normal.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you know, I was planning the vacation. I was planning on doing work. I was planning on, you know, getting a bunch of stuff done that I wanted to get done because I don't
Getting
vacation.
up at 5 a.m. on vacation.
No, seriously. Like I had alarms for 5 a.m. and do you hear something? Oh. I'll cut that out.
You're good.
Let me turn this off real quick.
Speaking of alarms.
I know, yeah. I set alarms, you know, during the vacation. I wanted to do like a bunch of introspection but everything I wanted to be like scheduled.
Sure.
And the very first day, you know, nothing went to schedule.
Yeah.
And that was like the best thing that could have happened. You know, we got there and, you know, I was honestly in awe, you know, being up in the mountains.
Yeah.
And I love the rain. You know, anybody who knows me knows that I absolutely love the rain. And I have this weird idea with me that when it rains, it's like, it's going to sound stupid, but when it rains for me. And it's always like a good sign that it rains.
Yeah.
And, you know, in Canyon City, Colorado, apparently there's like a 40-year drought. And
it just happened to rain when y'all were there.
It just happened to rain when we were there. It rained for like the first 4 days, and it was just amazing.
Cool.
And yeah, when we got there around like 6 p.m. and it was raining, and you know, I wanted to do some introspection and shit, and I ended up just sitting out on the porch, just listening to the rain, and just not doing anything, not thinking, not worrying, not doing anything. And, you know, still in my head, I was like, okay, tomorrow morning, I'm going to get after this shit.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. Yeah. You know, I slept in, I got up, I just chilled and looked off the balcony and just enjoyed myself. I ended up doing like archery, you know, later on in the day.
That's awesome.
Went on a Jeep tour.
Yeah.
So for the first, you know, 4 or 5 days, I didn't do anything that I had scheduled to do. And I'm thankful that I didn't, because after those 4 or 5 days, we were on vacation for 7 days total. But I think it was the fourth day mark.
Yeah.
I felt like this weird sense of like no worry, all happiness, like no weight on my shoulders.
Just ready.
It wasn't even like I wasn't ready for anything. I was just I can't put it into words, man. Like it was a really, really great
Maybe
feeling.
refreshed.
Maybe refreshed is the word, but like I woke up feeling good.
Yeah.
You know, hot shower. I
Yeah.
was smiling. I didn't have anything on my mind to do.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't remember the last time that I felt like that. And I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I know that, you know, whenever I'm done with this vacation, I'm going to get back into, you know, the swing of, or not the swing of things. I'm going to get back to, you know, trying to optimize a bunch of shit and all of that stuff. But I really want to know how I can keep this feeling. And, you know, I left the vacation with that feeling, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I made sure to write down to take vacations.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
from now
absolutely.
on.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Man, it's really crazy. Like we don't realize how we don't realize that we're on empty until our tank has been filled. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't realize like how much you're just chugging along or fighting through things and dragging yourself through things until you take that break or you get that second to breathe, and then you realize like, oh man, I was really dragging ass through all that, you know? And
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of feel the same way. It's like anytime I go on a trip, I do my best to like enjoy that peace, enjoy that quiet, enjoy that stillness, you know, because we don't, when do you find that in your day to day, man? It's like, you know, in your day to day, you know, you're working all day, you got responsibilities, whatever it may be. And then on the weekends, you're, you know, trying to see friends, trying to see family, trying to do fun things. So it's not often that you find that stillness, man. So I feel like that feeling of refreshing that you were, or refreshed, whatever you'd want to call it, that you were referring to, I feel like a lot of that stems from being able to appreciate stillness, to be able to stop for a second, stop all the inputs and the stress and, I mean, of everything, and just sit. You know, like in the mornings recently, my thing has been, I've been waking up 15, 30 minutes earlier, even if it's, you know, 4:15 in the morning. And it's just to have time to sit outside with the dogs with a cup of coffee and stare at the trees. You know, just enjoy the quiet and enjoy the stillness, you know? And so I think you really hit the nail on the head when you said you felt like, not ready, but the way you described it was almost like refreshed or prepared to go back to the things you were wanting to do to the best of your ability. You know what I mean? Like I almost feel like I feel like I was like, you know, at 2% health in a video game, and then I just leveled up and now I'm at 100%. You know what I mean? I just feel like reinvigorated and ready to go after a break or after a breather. And it's weird how you can like, you can even turn that into like training terminology, right? Like if you have a 4-week training block, you bust ass for 3 weeks and then 1 week you pull back. You bust ass for 3 weeks and then 1 week you pull back. You know what I mean? And it's like, but if you try to bust ass for 8 weeks in a row, you're asking for injury. You're asking for, you're asking for regression. You're asking for a boatload of problems. So it's weird how we'll apply that in training, but we don't think to apply that in our work capacity and other realms of life.
Well, I don't know about you, but you know, my worry going into this vacation was that I was going to lose momentum. And like I get, you know, now I understand the value of, you know, getting completely, like detaching completely away from that shit so that you can, like you said, for a long time that trip, I was, you know, doing nothing on top of, you know, the activities and all of that. But there had never been a point where I was okay with just doing nothing.
Right.
And on that vacation, there was times like up in the mountains, we're at, I think like 9,000 elevation. Dude, there's no birds. There's no insects. There's no nothing. When I say all you could hear was the
like
ringing
empty.
in your ears.
That's crazy.
That's all it was. The Wi-Fi was
I
ass.
crave that, man.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi was
that,
ass. So there was no, you know, going on YouTube, watching movies. It was literally just sitting in the stillness and enjoying it. And, you know, I think, or personally with me, when you are living the day to day, you know, with those responsibilities and stuff, and you're trying to either keep or build momentum, you know, for your progress.
Yeah.
It's tough for, you know, me to let go of the idea of building this momentum and keeping it up.
Yeah.
And, you know, going into that vacation, I was really worried about it. But what I saw was, like you said, you know, my battery was at 2%.
Yeah.
And, you know, afterwards it was completely refilled, which is crazy, you know, only a week to refill it.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't take much. I mean, I get that refill feeling on like a 3-day, 4-day hiking trip or something with Brianna. Like it doesn't, it doesn't have to be anything insane. I bet some people could get away with just like a Friday night stay at a hotel somewhere or something like that. I don't think it has to be anything extravagant, but yeah, I mean, it makes the difference, man.
Yeah. And it gave me like a lot of time to afterwards, like, okay, so the vacation was 7 days. The first 3 days were me fighting with myself to,
The first 3 days were working on not working.
Yeah, exactly. It was me like sometimes being ashamed of not working, being frustrated that I, couldn't work while still, forcing myself to do activities that I knew I would end up having fun doing, but that I usually, don't let myself do.
Yeah.
And then the 4th to the 6th day was, sitting in the stillness, just absolutely just enjoying it and just feeling amazing and, just being, bro.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't thinking about doing anything.
It was just whatever was going on in that moment.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was smiling, the whole day or whatever. And then after those 3 days, it was like, okay, my life.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and look at it. Now let's look at, what I came here to do.
Yeah.
And that was, in my case, I wanted to do, Donald Miller, the Hero on a Mission thing. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to do my eulogy, my 10, 5, 1 year vision, the goals, and then break that all the way down to like daily routines and stuff.
Sure.
So I ended up...
You're basically just kind of sitting down and setting yourself up an outline as far as like what you want to do with your life.
Yeah.
How do you break that down into the day-to-day? Just to explain a little bit for people listening.
Oh, yeah. So Donald Miller, he has multiple businesses, but one of his things is Hero on a Mission, and you can check that out at heroonamission.com. But the idea of it is that everybody lives a story, and you want to be the hero of your story. You don't want to be the victim. You don't want to be a villain. And so he provides you with a framework to actually to build upon in order to be the hero of your own story. And part of that framework is a eulogy. So, looking at the end of your life and asking yourself, after I pass, because all of this, it's not infinite. We're going to pass one day. So it's, hey, after I pass, what do I want to be remembered for? What do I want to leave behind? And that almost, it's like you're reverse engineering, where you want to go with your life. And so after the eulogy, you look at the 10-year vision. Where do I envision myself 10 years in regards to, I don't know, my family, business, friends, community, spirituality, things like that. 5 years, same thing. 1 year, same thing. And you're just breaking it down from the end of your life, just closer and closer to the present. And what happens is, hopefully you realize the urgency that you need to take and the focus that you need to have in order to, live the life that you want to live. And
so you were saying you were going through that when you were...
Yeah, so that only the last 2 days. I wanted to do a bunch of things, including, strategy for my business and then breaking down my routines and all of that. But I ended up only doing the eulogy and the vision worksheets, and then also the goal worksheets, which was perfect.
Yeah.
That's I left the vacation, from 2% battery all the way to full, and then excited for going back home and, having some kind of framework to start with. And so, I got back home and I started just making a daily routine, something that I can stick to during the day. And that's worked out freaking fantastic. What I've learned is before, when I didn't have routines, I would still, do what I need to get done. But it was all kind of vague sometimes, but, after writing it down and, consistently following it, I started becoming like more proud of myself. And that, I don't know, that helped me with, if I ever have like negative
Self-doubt
feelings.
or,
Yeah, negative thoughts, negative feelings, all of that stuff. You know, the fact that I'm doing these things that I have to do day in, day out, and you know, adhering to these routines that I've set for myself makes me proud of myself. And you know, going back to earlier about the momentum, you know, I'm building that momentum and I feel good. So, and it was all because that 1 week of vacation.
Yeah.
You know, like before the vacation, dude, I remember that the day before, I think I met with 2 clients, and I remember I was like half asleep meeting with them, just shoveling down coffee. I wasn't even listening to them when they were there, bro. Like I was trying to, but my brain couldn't work, man.
Yeah.
And it was weird. Like I had never felt that.
You're just tapped, man.
Yeah, so I'm very thankful that, you know, I went on that vacation. So it did not mess with my momentum.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it really helped.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know that it's, you know, when you're someone who's trying to balance, you know, fitness, business, relationships, you know, personal life, whatever, hobbies, you know, when you're trying to do all these things, man, and juggle all these tasks, like, it's ultimately draining, because what happens is when you're trying to do all those things, you have to give up time somewhere else. And that might be just empty free time. That might be sleep. That might be personal time. You know what I mean? And so when you do things like that, you know, you're happy to give that time and to give those things to, you know, succeed in business and fitness and your relationship and all these things all at once. But it's also draining. It's also hard. It's also, it requires always being on. It requires being, you know, active and intentful every single day. And ultimately, man, like we all have a battery. We all have our limit.
Yeah.
We all have, you know, only so much that we're capable of. And I feel like until you can respect that for yourself and know what that is and know what that boundary, that limit is, and then you can play to that, I feel like that's really where you find like the Goldilocks zone, man. Because I don't know, in my opinion, like if you have 2 individuals and one guy, you know, is an absolute workhorse and will just work himself into the dirt and can go 4 weeks straight working 90 hours a week, well, great, more power to him. But what if you got the same guy who can do the same amount of work in 70 or 60 hours a week, and, you know, then he's able to rest, or he takes a day off, or, you know, and it's more sustainable. And you know, I compared it to like training blocks earlier. You can look at it like fat loss phases as well. Well, like, look, man, if you're dieting and in a caloric deficit for half of a year, you might have been pushing for a while. You might need to take a month or 2 months where you're eating at maintenance, or you're even eating at a surplus, and you give your body a break just to not be so stressed out. And then that way, whenever you come back to it, you're resensitized, you're ready to go, you're reinvigorated, you're fresh. And so I think that's important in every avenue, man. It's like we all just, I don't know if it's social media, I don't know if it's, you know, the hardcore fitness community or what, but I feel like we all think we're just supposed to be like these unstoppable, go forever, on point, like, and you know, you can do that, but only for so long, man. And if you want to be able to balance everything, and I feel like balance is going to be different for everybody, but balance just in regards to spending your time doing the things that, spending your time reflecting your values and the things that you want to do, right? So I feel like it's a dedicating thing. And so to your point, like nailing down the daily habits and the daily routines, well, it's like, look, man, if that deletes an hour of empty space in your day, you know, figuring out what you're doing in between, or messing around on your phone, or, you know, snacking, or,
I got
you know,
something to tell you after this.
Yeah, okay. Okay. But I'm just saying, you know, if you're able to delete that time and then be able to dedicate more of yourself to the things that, you know, really matter to you and are valuable to you, then you should do that. And then once you're drained and you need a break, you should take that break. You know, it's worth it, man. Like I got one of my clients is prepping for a bodybuilding show right now, and dude's been busting his balls, man. He's been on point in a hard caloric deficit, and he hasn't missed his macros for like 3 weeks in a row, man. And today he hit a weigh-in number that I've been looking for a while, and I was like, great, whatever you want to have for dinner, go crazy.
Nice. Yeah,
go crazy. Big Mac and medium fry. Dude's going hard. Yeah, but it's just like, look, man, like. And all that's going to happen is his body's going to suck that stuff up, and he's going to have a great training session the next day, and then we're going to be right back on our BS losing fat, man. So it's like, I feel like it's an important part of the process that we tend to overlook. You have something to say about spending time on your phone or deleting empty space in your day.
Yeah. Real quick, I wonder if it would be a good idea because I was thinking about the idea of, okay, earlier, I was saying, being whenever you're, stuck in the process of, the day-to-day activities, responsibilities, all of that, you don't want to, or at least me personally, and maybe this is just a personal problem, but I don't want to like separate myself from that. I now know the benefit of separating myself from that.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if there's like, a certain, time interval where, you should implement those. Even, I'm not saying, 1 week vacations, but just like, some time off, time away.
Do you need a 3-day trip every 3 months, or do you need a 1 week trip every 6 months? And I think that's going to be, individualistic.
Yeah, got you. One thing that I'm trying right now with that is like, and I used to be horrible at this. I'm actually really liking it now though, is stopping work completely at 6 p.m. Every day. Yep. And that leaves me, I started going to bed at 10 p.m. So that leaves me with 4 hours of doing whatever I want to do. And usually, since I'm not powerlifting anymore, I'm actually enjoying the gym. Yeah. And I'm going in for an hour instead of, fucking 4 or 5 hours. Yeah. And I'm doing, things that I love.
You feel like you have so much time now, huh?
Yeah, dude. So much time. It's ridiculous. And, I get home. I still have like 2 hours left. Mm-hmm. I'm walking Harold, just listening to audio podcasts. I'm doing my nightly rituals now, like reading, journaling.
You're doing what you need to do for you, man.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's all because, that cutoff time where I'm like, okay, let me not do the 2 or 3 more hours of extremely subpar work that I usually would do. But
well, the thing is too, man, when you're a small business owner or you're someone who works for yourself or whatever, like you could work 24 hours in a day and you're still going to have 100 things to do because it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
You're wearing 100 different hats, you're doing 100 different things. So it's like, unless you actively choose like, okay, my day is 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. or whatever that is, like at some point you got to be like, okay, enough is enough. At some point you got to breathe. Sorry, I cut you off. What were you
No, you're good. Yeah, I agree though. Like I was listening to, I go to Jordan Peterson or Donald Miller, or, David Goggins, whenever I feel some kind of need inside of me to, restructure my life.
Sure.
And I was thinking about, the daily routines and stuff. And I was like, okay, well, what does Jordan Peterson do? And he was talking about work. This dude works like 16 hours a day, which is great. I don't want to do that.
Me neither.
Maybe back in the day.
I have done that. Yeah, no more.
Yeah, but what he was saying that he does is, he'll work for 2 hours, take a short break, 2 hour increments pretty much.
Yeah, sure.
And so right now I'm working from 7:30 to 11:30, 30-minute break, 12 to I think 2:30, 1 hour break, and then 3:30 to 6, or no, 3:30 to 7, I think. But as of right now, it's been 6 p.m. That's awesome. Yeah, I've been cutting off at 6.
But you give yourself space to breathe.
Yeah. And dude, I've been getting so much work done, in those times that I do work now. One, because of that, the blocking out those work times. And 2, because I put this bitch in a different room.
Put your cell phone away.
So what I was gonna say earlier when it comes to being on this thing. So before I left for vacation, me being stressed and all, very easy to go to entertainment for stress.
100%.
Guess how many hours I was on my phone for?
Like your daily screen time?
My daily screen time.
2 hours.
Up.
3 hours.
Up.
4.
Up.
5.
Up.
6.
Up.
I'm done guessing.
I was at 7 hours, dude.
It's almost a third of your day, man.
I don't know how
but that
happened.
Includes like, YouTube running in the background or something. But still, that's a lot, man.
Yeah, man.
That's
and
a lot.
I don't know how it got to that. And I honestly felt like helpless, to it.
I know the feeling, man. I've had all my notifications off for probably at least a year now, and I still check my phone for no reason. I still will, because I know there's no text because I don't have notifications on. So like, then I'll be like, what if someone did text me? I got to check. Yeah. So it's exactly. Yeah. But go on.
So yeah, I actually did that. I silenced like all of my notifications except text. I haven't got to that yet. That very ballsy of you.
Oh yeah. Only way you can reach me immediately is phone call.
The That's a good idea, man.
That's it, man. Yeah.
And then obviously, you know, I have the social media times on there, but the biggest thing for me was, putting the phone in a dresser outside of my room, because usually while I'm working, if I get frustrated, I'll reach for my phone, especially if it's in reach. And if it's in my room, you know, if I'm frustrated enough, I'll get up and go grab it.
It's just wildly distractible. Like if I'm sitting there doing online client updates and then I need to like check something I texted with someone or whatever, it's like I open my text and then suddenly I'm like texting my mom, or suddenly I'm like looking on Facebook or watching a YouTube video, and it's wild how quickly it can get out of hand, you know?
Yeah. So for me, the justification with always having my phone on me was, you know, the messages. Yeah. And I just found out that I can use Google Chrome for the messages on there. So there's literally no need for me to have my phone there. So I can hear the alarms go off too whenever, you know, it's time to cut off work. So I don't need to have it, you know, right next to me. So that has been a huge help. My screen time is still around, I think, like 2 hours and 30 minutes or maybe 3 hours. I'm not sure if that's from background video and stuff like that, but because I'm still confused how I spend, you know, 3 or 2 hours on the phone. I think
if you leave like a YouTube video running or something like that counts.
Because I'm always listening to things, and I have a app called Y Music, which I won't get into it, but I think it
ups the screen time.
I think it does that.
Yeah. So I think it inevitably is going to be a number that's kind of up there, but you know, when you see like 7 hours, you're like, oh, that's like
this is a huge problem.
That's like 30% of my day. So that's probably got to change. So.
Yeah. And what was happening was I told you about that master or the networking group, right? So I was having a bunch of meetings scheduled, and I live in Allen. Those meetings were in Frisco. So a lot of times I would drive from there to there, and then
it's like a 30-minute hike, 20-minute hike.
Yeah, 30 minutes. And then, you know, have to drive back, and then sometimes go back later in the day. And that was really frustrating because I'm the type of person that likes to work a lot. Yeah. And if I'm not working a certain number of hours in the day, it stresses me out. Like, it really stresses me out. And again, another way to relieve stress is just mindlessly scroll through that phone, man.
I don't even know if I'd use the word relieve. Maybe distract from.
Distract from it. Definitely, it's only a relief when I'm staring at it. As soon as I get off of it, it's even worse because I'm like, fuck.
It's more just a pause button.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%. Dang. Yeah, man. Let's answer some questions, dude.
Yeah. All right, so we have this question from Michael Flores.
Shout out Michael Flores.
Yeah, shout out Michael Flores. We had him make a question on the podcast last week, or last podcast. But right now he's asking, so for his training, we were doing, for some context, for his training, we just finished a volume block. So we did 6 days of just getting that volume and technique work in. Sure. Like we talked, I think on the last podcast, we talked about you know, the blocks. But he asked, hey, what's the need to take away the 6th day and the 5th day from our training block? So right now we're moving into...
Let me take a guess.
Go.
Recovery,
baby.
Yeah, man. Because if volume's going down, intensity's going up.
Oh, yeah, man.
Go on. Elaborate.
So the cool thing about this volume phase is he has been, what is it called? Responding to it like fantastically, man. His recovery is amazing, and we've gotten him up to pretty much doing 100 reps on, you know, all of his accessories.
Wow.
And he usually has like 4 accessories, you know, per training session. So that's 400 reps per accessory. Yeah. And then for his main lifts, I feel like this is falling. For his main lifts, he usually does he got up to 30 reps of his main lifts.
Okay.
So a lot of volume. And he has been getting sore, you know, for each workout. Like, you know, if we're doing his first leg day on Monday, he'll be good to go again by Thursday.
Sure.
With, you know, all of that volume.
Just doing push-pull legs?
Yeah, push-pull. Yeah,
push legs?
2 legs, 2 pushes, and then 1 pull.
Sure.
So back. And now... since we're moving on into the strength phase, yeah, the volume is going to be lower, the intensity is going to be higher, and he's curious as to why he needs to take away 2 of those training days.
Sure.
So the way that I explained it to him, and let me know if you think the same way, is obviously the recovery aspect, but it's not so much for the recovery of like the feeling of the muscles. It's for the efficiency of the performance. So I believe that's from the neuromuscular recovery.
Yes.
So right now, like he's saying, he doesn't feel sore after these workouts, but neuromuscularly, he needs to recover a lot more in between each of these workouts. So even though, now that we're cutting those 2 days out, even though he may feel, completely ready to go and not sore by, the next leg day.
Sure.
Well, if we were to have that additional, 2 days in between, his muscles still may not feel sore, but he's not going to be as efficient when it comes to putting in the maximum amount of power behind those lifts.
Yeah, I would agree. So like you said, he was doing upwards of like 30 reps on his main lift. So just for sake of conversation, let's call that like 5 sets of 6.
Yep, that's exactly what it was.
Okay, perfect. So for sake of conversation, let's say he's doing 5 sets of 6 on bench with, I don't know how strong he is. We'll say like 225. Okay. So let's say he's doing 5 sets of 6 with 225. So in my opinion, even though you're talking about doing less volume and more intensity, so heavier loads, I would actually argue that that's more taxing on the body.
Oh, yeah.
Because of what you said neuromuscularly. Neuromuscularly. So the way that it impacts your nervous system when you're working with these higher loads is much more taxing. It asks a lot more of you than doing higher volume and lower intensity. So doing 4 sets of 20 or 5 sets of 20 or something like that. So even though we're scaling back here because we're talking about main lifts, the comparison could be like 5 sets of 6 compared to like 3 sets of 3 or 4 sets of 2 or something like that. And so when you're working with numbers like that and you're driving that intensity up, what you have to keep in mind is at the end of the day, this guy is a powerlifter, right?
Yep.
And so, okay, we're talking powerlifting. The goal is to move as much away from point A to point B as possible within the squat, bench, and deadlift, within the parameters of the sport. And so that being said, that's where the majority of our work should be directed towards.
Yep.
So in my opinion, come this block, if our goal is to be pushing those numbers with that intensity at this time, pull back everywhere else.
Yep.
So pull back whatever, the extra fluff at the end, doing bicep curls and tricep push downs and all that kind of thing. Like so you only have the capacity to recover from so much. You only have so many resources. I like to explain it as like a glass of water. Let's say you have like a 16-ounce glass of water, and like, look, if you're trying to push high volume, high intensity, low rest periods, things like that, if, you'll get a solid like 2 sessions a week because you're draining that water glass so quick, man. But if you're spacing out, 6 days of volume, well, then you'll drain that a little bit slower. You're still draining it, but a little bit slower. But if you're pumping out like 3 hardcore sessions of like 1 heavy squat day, 1 heavy bench day, 1 heavy deadlift day, yeah, exactly. You're basically turning that bitch upside down.
Yeah.
So exactly to your point, like you want to give him that space to breathe. And over time, he might be able to acclimate to still doing a little bit higher volume or still doing a little bit more. And that's typically dependent upon the person's recovery, injury history, and their training age. But I would do the same thing. To me, you have all these levers you can pull, and if you're going to pull one, you need to adjust another.
Yep.
Because again, we're only capable of so much, and the last thing you want to do is be risking injury, overreaching, overtraining, or anything like that. And also keeping in the back of your brain, like he probably has a 40-hour-a-week day job.
Yep.
He probably has a social life. He probably has other things going on. So it's like already training 6 days a week right now is already pushing it, man. I mean, that's for an average, person who's just trying to be strong or just trying to,
100%
be involved. Like you're already pushing it hard. So in my opinion, like pulling back to a higher intensity 4 days a week would be a good move if you're trying to get away from the volume and get into the intensity in this training block, for sure.
Exactly, because I want him, like you're saying earlier, he may, or we may see that, he has the capability of sustaining that volume.
Yeah.
But, for strength, we want to always stay under that so that we can, utilize it for strength.
Because that's always been, funny enough, man, that's actually kind of why, like, I I erred towards bodybuilding early on in my training because bodybuilding was more about just like giving it your 100% all in every session and then being sure you're recovering after, whereas powerlifting was like, okay, we're going 80% today. We're going 95% today. We're going 60% today. And it was like, for me, I just like to be all gas, you know?
I feel you, man.
And that's just my like nerdy training brain. So of course there's tons of powerlifters that are all gas, man. I'm not saying,
but you're right, man. Like there has to be a lot of patience in it.
And when you're talking about like nervous system recovery and moving as much weight as possible, you have to be much more targeted with the way you're approaching each workout throughout the week, dependent upon, okay, am I trying to push squats right now? Am I trying to push deadlifts right now? Am I trying to push volume right now? Like, what's my current goal? And so you have to, again, if you're going to pull one lever, you got to lay back somewhere else. If somebody tells me they want big arms and I'm going to start giving them, 10 sets of biceps and 10 sets of triceps, well, I better pull them back to 3 sets of chest and 3 sets of shoulders, or you know what I mean?
Whatever you're prioritizing,
exactly, yeah. And in my opinion, it makes sense to be targeted. It makes sense to be specific.
Yeah.
But again, you have to work within the parameters of what are you actually capable of? What can you recover from? Are you sleeping 10 hours a night? Or are you sleeping 5 hours a night? Are you eating 4,000 calories? Or are you eating 1,500 calories? Are you 30 years old with, no kids and you're just single and you're training? Or are you, 40 with 2 kids in high school and you gotta get your mortgage paid and be an adult, so there's different, those mean different things to everybody. For a long time I trained 6 days a week only. For a long time I trained 4 days a week only. Right now I'm training 5 days a week. So I think there's literally thousands of ways to skin a cat, as long as you're respecting, hey, if I'm going to push this thing, I got to pull this thing. If I'm going to send this thing over here, I got to send this thing over here. I have to respect my boundaries.
Yeah, that actually really helps, because I didn't explain it to him in that way. I explained to him the science part of it, of, the difference between muscular recovery and then neuromuscular recovery, and performance. But I didn't explain to him the priority part. Yeah. Because his thing is, like you're saying about the bodybuilding, he's such a hard worker, man.
Yeah.
Like, he loves to put in the work, whether it's heavy lifting, high volume, or cardio. He doesn't care. He just wants to work. And so his reason for wanting to keep in these 2 days was to work more.
Yeah.
More
is not always better.
Exactly. More is not always better. So at the end of the day, he's doing this program so that he can achieve a certain performance at the powerlifting thing. Yep. So if he wants to do something that contradicts that end goal, then obviously that's not going to be beneficial for him. So after this podcast, I'm actually going to communicate that to him.
Yeah. Or just send him the podcast.
Yes, that's what I was thinking about doing, man.
Out. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, Monday we're going to solve your problem. But until then, but so right now he's 10 weeks out, and we're starting the strength phase, and he sent me that message, and he sent me that message today, and when I explained it to him, he did heavy squats on Monday, and heavy deadlifts and heavy bench on heavy squats on Mondays and heavy deadlifts on Monday, and then he did heavy bench on Wednesday. He felt very taxed on those days. Yep. And I understood why.
It's different. Yeah.
I understood why. We took a deload, but from all that volume, like,
take your creatine, buddy.
Yeah. He did an 8-week block of just straight up kicking ass in volume and improving his cardio. And that's like with 60-second rest times in between sets.
Just upping that workload capacity, man.
Yep, exactly. And so now I think he needs to understand the idea of the neuromuscular fatigue.
Yeah.
And because I think that's why his squats, deadlifts, and bench felt sluggish. He says sluggish, but they moved fucking amazing.
Yeah. He's tired.
Yeah, exactly. He's tired.
Yeah.
Even though you may not feel sore,
you're tired.
You're fucking tired, dude.
Yeah,
so that tells me, watching those videos, and even though, he didn't have to tell me explicitly, from my experience, I understand why. So, going into the next week, we're going to make sure to prioritize that recovery and just feeling good and ready.
Yep.
The worst thing to feel is to go into a training session knowing that it's going to be brutal
Right.
and not feeling up to the task.
Right. 100%.
So,
yep. And it's how do you keep that glass full without overflowing it, without draining it?
yeah.
It's that happy balance, So, but cool, man. Let's go ahead and wrap this one there.
Yep.
All right. Thank you all for listening.